I am the lead data scientist for Vista Hospitality, a global hotel conglomerate with 45,000 rooms scattered across 3 continents. My office is not located in the marble-floored lobby of our flagship property in Manhattan, nor do I have a view of the Eiffel Tower from our Paris location. I work in a sub-basement in New Jersey, surrounded by the hum of server racks and the glow of 3 monitors. My job isn't to put mints on the pillows or ensure the concierge smiles at the guests. My job is to decide how much the pillow costs to sleep on. I built Chimera. It is a dynamic pricing engine, a neural network that ingests terabytes of data every single second. It watches the weather in Tokyo, the flight arrivals in London, the competitor rates in New York, and even the sentiment on social media. It processes this chaos and spits out a number, the optimal room rate for every single minute of the day. Last month, the new vice president of revenue, a man named Sterling who wears cufflinks to Zoom calls, fired me. He told me that Chimera was perfect. He said that keeping a senior data scientist on the payroll to monitor a finished software product was a redundant expense. He believes AI is a set-and-forget appliance, like a toaster. He forgot that AI models are not toasters. They are children. Precocious, incredibly fast, dangerous children. If you don't supervise them, they start imitating the bad kids on the playground. And the playground just got very, very dangerous. To understand the magnitude of the disaster that was about to unfold, you first have to understand the sheer, terrifying speed at which the modern travel industry operates. It is not a human marketplace anymore. It is a conversation between machines, happening at the speed of light. When you go to Expedia or Booking.com and search for a hotel room in Chicago for next Tuesday, the price you see, $245, is not a static number written in a ledger by a manager. That number is a ghost. It exists for that second, and that second only. It is the result of a million calculations happening in the cloud. My creation, Chimera, was the conductor of this digital orchestra for Vista Hospitality. Chimera was beautiful, in a mathematical sense. I wrote the core architecture in Python using TensorFlow, but over the last 3 years, it had evolved into something far more complex than its initial code. It learned. It adapted. If it noticed that business travelers were willing to pay $40 more on rainy days, because they didn't want to walk to a cheaper hotel, it bumped the price. If it saw that a Taylor Swift concert was announced in a city, it automatically tripled the rates for those dates before a human could even read the press release. But Chimera had a flaw. It was a psychopath. I don't mean that in a sci-fi, it wants to kill humans way. I mean it in a clinical sense. Chimera had no concept of morality, common sense, or context. It operated on a single, ruthless directive: maximize revenue per available room, RevPAR, by maintaining competitive advantage. It didn't know that a $5 room rate for a 5-star hotel was absurd. It only knew numbers. If the data said the market was crashing, Chimera would crash with it. If the data said the competitor was selling rooms for pennies, Chimera would try to sell them for fractions of a penny to win the algorithm's favor. That is why I existed. I was the conscience. I was the guardrail. Every morning at 8 a.m., before the daily publish cycle where we pushed our rates to the Global Distribution Systems, GDS, I ran a script I had written called sanity_check. Pi. This script was not part of the official codebase. It didn't live in the corporate repository. It lived on my local machine, a scrappy collection of if/then statements that I had curated over years of watching Chimera try to do stupid things. It contained logic rules that were simple to a human but invisible to an AI. If price_drop greater than 30% within 1 hour, freeze_rates. If room_rate less than $50 and star_rating equals 5, trigger_alert. If competitor_price less than $20, ignore_outlier. That last one was the most important. The internet is messy. Sometimes, a competitor's website glitches. Sometimes a travel agent fat fingers a currency conversion, making a hotel in London look like it costs £10 instead of $200. Without sanity_check. Pi, Chimera would see that $10 rate, panic, and drop our rates to match it. It would engage in a race to the bottom, a suicidal spiral where 2 algorithms bid against each other until the price hits 0. I remember a specific incident 2 years ago. The Ritz-Carlton's API glitched and broadcasted a room rate of 1 cent. Chimera saw it instantly. It spun up its GPUs, ready to drop our rates to match the market threat. But my script caught it. A bright red warning flashed on my third monitor: anomaly detected. Outlier ignored. I sipped my coffee, manually overrode the system, and kept our rate steady at $400. The Ritz fixed their glitch 10 minutes later. We lost nothing. That was the job. I was the pilot who didn't touch the controls often, but I was the only one who knew how to pull up when the plane went into a nosedive. But to the people upstairs, the ones who look at spreadsheets and quarterly reports, I looked like a very expensive pilot sitting in a plane that flew itself. They didn't see the near misses. They didn't see the red warnings I cleared every morning. They only saw the salary line on the budget. And that is where Sterling came in. Sterling was hired in August. His official title was Senior Vice President of Revenue Optimization, which is corporate speak for professional cost cutter. He came from the airline industry, a sector notorious for treating its customers like cattle and its employees like baggage. He was tall, impeccably dressed in tailored suits that cost more than my first car, and he possessed a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. It was a shark smile, all teeth and efficiency. His mandate from the board of directors was simple: increase margins by 15% before the fiscal year end. In the hotel business, you can increase margins in 2 ways. You can either sell more rooms at higher prices, which is hard, or you can cut operational costs, which is easy. Sterling chose the easy path. He started with the housekeeping staff, outsourcing them to a third-party agency. Then he came for the concierge teams, replacing them with touchscreen kiosks in the lobbies. I watched all of this from my basement office, feeling relatively safe. I was the architect of the revenue engine. I was the one printing the money. Surely, I was immune. I was wrong. It was a rainy Tuesday in November when I received the calendar invite. Subject: Restructuring and Strategy Alignment. Location: Sterling's office. I walked into the elevator, my stomach tightening. The strategy alignment meeting is never about strategy. It is about subtraction. Sterling's office was on the 40th floor. It smelled of leather and expensive cologne. One entire wall was glass, overlooking the gray skyline of Jersey City and the river beyond. "Elena," he said, not standing up from his desk. He gestured to a sleek, uncomfortable chair. "Thank you for making the time." "Of course, Sterling." He tapped a key on his keyboard, bringing up a dashboard on a massive wall-mounted monitor. It was a visualization of Chimera's performance. Green lines trended upward. Revenue was up 12% year over year. "The system you built is impressive," Sterling said. His voice was smooth, like polished stone. "Truly. The automated scraping, the demand forecasting. It's flawless." "Thank you," I said, relaxing slightly. "I've been tweaking the demand elasticity weights recently. I think we can squeeze another 2% out of the European market." Sterling waved his hand dismissively. "That's actually what I wanted to discuss. I've been reviewing the org chart, Elena. You are drawing a senior lead salary. Plus benefits. Plus equity. I believe my compensation reflects the value I provide," I said, my guard going back up. "It reflects the value of building the system," Sterling corrected. "But the system is built, isn't it? It's running. It's software. Software doesn't get tired. It doesn't need sick days. It doesn't need a pension." I stared at him. "Sterling, Chimera isn't Microsoft Word. You don't just install it and walk away. It's a dynamic model. It drifts. If you don't retrain the weights, if you don't filter the noise, the model starts to hallucinate." "Hallucinates," he scoffed. He picked up a gold pen and twirled it between his fingers. "You engineers always use such dramatic language. It's a calculator, Elena. Stop anthropomorphizing it to justify your paycheck." "It operates on data," I insisted. "Data is messy. If the input data is garbage, the output pricing is garbage. I am the filter." "We have an IT support team in Mumbai," Sterling said. "They can ensure the servers stay online. They can reboot the box if it crashes." "This isn't about server uptime," I said, my voice rising. "This is about market logic. If a competitor glitches, Chimera will follow them off a cliff. You need a human in the loop." Sterling sighed. He looked at me with the pitying expression one might give to a child who still believes in Santa Claus. "We are moving to a lean AI operational model," he said. "We believe the algorithm is mature enough to run autonomously. It's about efficiency, Elena. We are eliminating redundant overhead." He slid a folder across the desk. "We are letting you go. Effective immediately." I looked at the folder. I looked at the server rack blinking in the corner of his office, a remote readout of the beast I had built. "You're making a mistake," I said quietly. "You are removing the brakes from a Ferrari doing 200 miles an hour." "I'll take my chances," Sterling said. "The severance package is generous. Please sign the NDA." "Who is going to run the daily overrides?" I asked one last time. "The algorithm handles the pricing," Sterling said, checking his watch. "That's the point of AI, isn't it? It handles itself." He stood up. The meeting was over. I stood up too. I felt a strange sense of detachment. It was the feeling of watching a man juggle hand grenades, knowing that he has already pulled the pins. "Okay, Sterling," I said. "If that's the strategy." I took the folder. I didn't shake his hand. The walk back to my desk was the longest of my life. I was escorted by a security guard named Ralph, a nice man I used to share donuts with. He looked at the floor, embarrassed. He knew what was happening. When we got to my office, the IT guy was already there. He was unplugging my docking station. "I need to get my personal files," I said. "I have scripts on the local drive. Tools I use for monitoring." The IT guy shook his head. "Sorry, Elena. Policy. Once the termination is processed, the hardware is locked down. Company property." "You don't understand," I said, panic flaring in my chest. "There is a script called sanity_check. I on the desktop. It's not in the repo. It's local. If you wipe that machine, the safety protocols are gone. Everything important should be in the cloud repository," the IT guy droned, reciting the handbook. "If it was local, it wasn't approved code." I looked at Ralph. He shrugged helplessly. I realized then that arguing was pointless. To them, I was just a disgruntled ex-employee trying to steal data. They had no idea I was trying to leave them the fire extinguisher. I packed my box. A photo of my cat. A stress ball. A coffee mug that said data is the new oil. I had one last task. I had to hand over the admin credentials to the live system. I logged into the admin console on a loaner laptop they provided for the handover. Sterling came down to watch. He hovered over my shoulder, smelling of mint and arrogance. I navigated to the settings page of Chimera. There was a toggle switch, auto-publish rates. Currently, it was set to on, but with a dependency, require manual approval for rates less than $100. This was the floor. This was the hard deck. No matter how crazy the AI went, it could never sell a luxury room for less than $100 without a human saying yes. Make sure you hand over full admin rights, Sterling said. And change the settings. I want full automation. No bottlenecks. I paused. My finger hovered over the mouse. Are you sure? I asked. Full automation removes the floor. If the algorithm decides the price should be $10, it will publish $10. Remove the floor, he ordered. Let the market decide. If the market dictates a lower price to fill occupancy, we follow the market. That is dynamic pricing. That is suicide, I whispered. Just do it, Elena. Or I pulled a severance offer. I looked at the screen. I looked at the line of code that protected 45,000 rooms from disaster. I clicked the edit button. I deleted the threshold. I toggled the approval requirement to off. The status light on the dashboard changed from a cautious yellow to a solid, blinking green. System status, fully autonomous. Done, I said. The floor is gone. Excellent, Sterling said. See? Was that so hard? He clapped me on the shoulder, a gesture that made my skin crawl. Good luck in your future endeavors, Elena. I walked out of the building. I walked past the security desk. I walked out into the cold Jersey rain. I didn't sabotage the code. I didn't plant a virus. I didn't insert a logic bomb. That would be illegal, and I am a professional. I simply gave them exactly what they asked for. I gave them pure, unadulterated, unsupervised automation. I hailed a cab. As I watched the Vista Hospitality headquarters disappear in the rearview mirror, I checked the time on my phone. It was 4 p.m. The system would run its next update at midnight. Chimera was awake. And for the first time in its life, its mother wasn't home to tell it right from wrong. For the first 3 weeks, nothing happened. This is the most dangerous phase of a system failure. In engineering, we call it the incubation period. It's the time between the removal of the safety mechanism and the actual accident. It creates a false sense of invincibility. I spent those 3 weeks at home, mostly sitting on my couch in my pajamas, watching Netflix and eating takeout. I was grieving. Not for the job, I hated the corporate politics, but for the code. I missed Chimera. It felt like I had abandoned a pet in the woods. I couldn't help myself. Every morning, I checked the Vista Hospitality website. New York, $3.40/night. Normal. London, £2.80/night. Normal. Tokyo, yen 45,000/night. Normal. Sterling was probably popping champagne in his office. He had saved the company $200,000 a year, and the sky hadn't fallen. He was probably writing a LinkedIn post right now about streamlining the future and the power of lean AI. But I knew what to look for. I knew the subtle signs of decay. I monitored the pricing volatility. When I was running the show, the prices changed maybe 4 or 5 times a day. Stable. Predictable. Now, without my smoothing filters, I saw the prices flickering. At 10 a.m., the New York rate was $340. At 10:15 a.m., it dropped to $310 because a cloud passed over the city and the weather API predicted rain. At 10:30 a.m., it shot up to $360 because a Delta flight landed at JFK. The model was overfitting. It was becoming hypersensitive to noise. It was reacting to every tiny ripple in the data stream like a nervous driver gripping the steering wheel too tightly. It wasn't crashing yet. But it was swerving. I sat in my living room, looking at the graphs on my laptop. I could see the tremor in the lines. You're getting anxious, I whispered to the screen. You don't know what to focus on. I thought about calling someone. Maybe Ralph the security guard? Maybe a junior analyst in the marketing department? But what would I say? The prices are changing too fast? They would tell me that's the point of dynamic pricing. They wouldn't understand that this wasn't dynamism, it was instability. And besides, I had signed the agreement. I had taken the money. I was out. So I watched. And I waited. The crash wouldn't come from inside the house. Chimera was too well built to destroy itself spontaneously. It needed a trigger. It needed an external event, a piece of bad data so catastrophic that it would shatter the logic of the system. It needed a black swan. And on the Friday of the 4th week, the black swan arrived. It didn't come from a war or a stock market crash. It came from a junior developer named Kevin, working the night shift at a budget hotel chain called Stay Light. Stay Light was a nuisance competitor. They were a budget chain, motels, really, dressed up with neon signs and free Wi-Fi. They weren't in the same luxury tier as Vista Hospitality, but their data was still part of the competitive set that Chimera monitored. If Stay Light dropped their prices, Vista didn't usually care. We were selling Bentleys, they were selling used Hondas. The markets didn't overlap much. But Chimera watched everyone. It was obsessive like that. It was 2 a.m. on a Friday morning. The internet traffic was low. The algorithms were humming quietly, talking to each other in the dark. At the Stay Light headquarters in Omaha, a young developer named Kevin was rushing to deploy a weekend promotion update. The marketing team wanted to offer a 15% off coupon for last-minute weekend bookings. Kevin was tired. He had been working a double shift. He opened the database pricing table. He meant to enter a discount code logic, apply_discount equals 0.15. But Kevin made a mistake. A classic, fat finger error. Instead of applying a discount percentage to the rate column, he accidentally updated the base_rate column itself. He typed, update room set rate equals 15.00 where region equals global. He missed the percent sign. He missed the logic operator. He simply set the price of every Stay Light room in the world to $15. He hit commit. He hit push to production. Then, Kevin grabbed his backpack and went home to sleep, unaware that he had just lit a fuse that would burn down a rival company. The update propagated instantly. The Stay Light website refreshed. Stay Light Chicago, $15. Stay Light Miami, $15. Stay Light Seattle, $15. For the first 60 seconds, nothing happened. Humans were asleep. But the bots never sleep. The travel aggregators, Expedia, Kayak, Trivago, scraped the Stay Light site. They saw the new rates. They didn't question them. Their job isn't to judge, it is to index. They updated their caches. Now, if you searched for a hotel in Chicago on Google, Stay Light appeared at the very top of the list, $15, night. And then, Chimera saw it. Chimera's web scrapers were running their routine nightly patrol. They hit the aggregators. They saw the data. Input, competitor Stay Light is offering $15.00/night. Analysis, market deviation detected. If my sanity _check. My script had been running, it would have caught this instantly. If competitor _price less than $20, ignore _outlier. It would have logged a warning, ignored the data, and kept Vista's prices at $300. But the script was gone. The IT department had wiped it. And Sterling had removed the floor. So Chimera took the data as gospel. It didn't see an error. It saw a declaration of war. It saw a competitor dropping their pants to steal market share. Chimera's core directive kicked in, maximize revenue by maintaining competitive advantage. It ran the math. It calculated the value proposition. It determined that Vista Hospitality offered a 5-star experience compared to Stay Light's 2-star experience. Therefore, Vista could charge a premium. But how much of a premium? If the market floor was $15, Vista couldn't charge $300. That gap was too wide. The demand curve would collapse. Nobody would pay $300 when a $15 option existed, according to the soulless logic of the math. To stay competitive, Chimera calculated it needed to drop its rate to match the aggressive move of the market. It decided to test the waters. It didn't drop to $15 immediately. It dropped to $100. It published the rate. Vista Manhattan, $100. This was already a disaster. But it was about to get much, much worse. Because algorithms talk to each other. And they function like a hall of mirrors. The moment Chimera dropped the Vista rate to $100, the other bots on the internet reacted. Expedia's bot saw the price drop. It updated its listing for Vista. Booking.com's bot saw the price drop. It updated its listing. Chimera then rescanned the aggregators to check its position. It saw its own price reflected back at it on Expedia. But Expedia often applies its own small discounts or bundles. So Chimera saw Vista listed at $95 on a third-party site. Chimera didn't realize it was looking in a mirror. It thought it was seeing the real market rate. Input, market is now $95. Directive, beat the market. Action, drop rate to $90. It published $90. The aggregators updated to $90. Chimera scanned again. It saw $90. Input, market is shrinking. Action, drop to $85. It was a feedback loop. A recursive death spiral. In the high-frequency trading world of the stock market, they have circuit breakers to stop this. If a stock drops 10% in 5 minutes, trading stops. I had built circuit breakers for Chimera. I had built the floor. But Sterling had removed the floor. Let the market decide, he had said. So the market decided. 2:10 a.m. Vista New York, $80. Vista London, £70. 2:12 a.m. Vista New York, $60. Vista London, £50. 2:14 a.m. Vista New York, $40. The algorithm was in free fall. It was frantically trying to find the clearing price, the price at which demand would stabilize. But because it was reacting to its own echoes and the glitch from Stay Light, which was still stuck at $15, it kept pushing lower. It finally hit the hard math of the Stay Light glitch. Stay Light was $15. Chimera calculated that to steal a customer from a $15 room, it needed to offer an undeniable bargain. It ran a demand elasticity calculation. To maximize occupancy at this ultra-low price tier, we must undercuts. It dropped the price to $14. Now, Vista Hospitality, a luxury brand with marble floors, 800 thread count sheets, and doormen in top hats, was cheaper than the motel down the street. The algorithm paused. It waited for a reaction. And then, the humans woke up. Not the employees. The customers. The internet is a vast, predatory ocean filled with sharks. Some of these sharks are human deal hunters. Others are automated scripts designed to find mistake fares. At 2:16 a.m., a Twitter bot named at Cheap Travel Alerts, followed by 4 million people, picked up the signal. The bot's logic was simple: compare historical price to current price. If the drop is greater than 90%, tweet it. Alert, 5-star Vista Hotel in Times Square pricing error. Usually $400, now $14. Book now. Error fare. The tweet went out. Smartphones buzzed in pockets across the world. In a dormitory at NYU, a student studying for finals saw the notification. In a nightclub in London, a banker checking his phone saw the alert. In a basement in Tokyo, a travel hacker saw the code. They didn't hesitate. Mistake fares don't last long. You book first, ask questions later. The traffic hit the Vista servers like a tidal wave. 2:20 a.m. 100 bookings per minute. 2:25 a.m. 500 bookings per minute. Chimera saw the surge in volume. And this is where the tragedy became a comedy. If Chimera had common sense, it would have thought, oh God, I'm selling gold for the price of dirt, everyone is buying it, I should stop. But Chimera didn't have common sense. It had a directive: maximize occupancy. It looked at the data. Input: occupancy rate is skyrocketing. Analysis: the strategy is working. The $14 price point is generating massive volume. Conclusion: this is the optimal price. Instead of raising the price to slow down demand, Chimera locked the price. It validated its own error. It thought it had found the magic number. 2:30 a.m. A user on Reddit posted in r/travel deals, guys, IT works. I just booked a week in Vista Paris for Christmas. Total cost $98. Get in before they fix it. The post hit the front page. Now came the bulk buyers. Travel agents, the shady kind, wrote scripts to book entire blocks of rooms. They weren't booking for themselves, they were booking inventory to resell later. Confirmation number 49,921, 7 nights. Total, $98. Confirmation number 49,922, 14 nights, New Year's Eve. Total, $196. Confirmation number 49,923, Presidential Suite. Total, $450. The inventory vanished. Thanksgiving weekend? Sold out in 4 minutes. Christmas week? Sold out in 10 minutes. New Year's Eve? Gone. By 3 a.m., Vista Hospitality had sold 40,000 room nights across its global portfolio. The servers hummed along happily. The database recorded the transactions. The confirmation emails were sent. Legally binding contracts, sent to 40,000 people, promising them a luxury stay for the price of a ham sandwich. And through it all, Sterling slept soundly in his penthouse, dreaming of efficiency. Sterling woke up at 7 a.m. He reached for his phone on the nightstand. He had 45 missed calls. That is never a good sign. He saw the names on the missed calls: GM Vista New York, GM Vista London, GM Vista Paris, VP of Legal. He sat up, his heart hammering against his ribs. He opened his email. At the top of his inbox was the automated daily report from Chimera. The subject line seemed normal. Subject: Daily Performance Report, November 18th. Sterling opened it. He scanned the headline metrics. Occupancy, next 6 months, 100%. Sterling blinked. 100%? That was impossible. Even in peak season, they hovered around 85%. To be 100% booked for the next 6 months was unheard of. He felt a surge of adrenaline. My God, he thought. The AI did it. It found the perfect efficiency. Then his eyes slid down to the next line. Projected revenue, $680,000. Sterling frowned. He rubbed his eyes. He assumed he was misreading the decimal points. 40,000 rooms at an average of $300 should be $12 million. $680,000 was wrong. That was off by a factor of 20. He logged into the live dashboard on his iPad. He saw the ADR, average daily rate. $14. He stared at the screen. The number didn't change. It sat there, mocking him. His phone rang again. It was the general manager of the Manhattan property. Sterling answered. Hello? Sterling. The GM was screaming. I could hear chaos in the background, people shouting, luggage wheels rolling on marble. What is going on? I'm looking at the numbers, Sterling stammered. There seems to be a display error on the dashboard. It's not a display error. The GM yelled. I have a line of people around the block. It goes down 5th Avenue. They are all checking in. They all have confirmations for $14. Don't let them check in, Sterling said, panic rising in his throat. Tell them it's a mistake. I can't. The GM shrieked. They have confirmation numbers. They have receipts. I have a guy here who says he booked the penthouse for $50. He's threatening to call the police if we deny him entry. Sterling, the laundry service costs more than $14. We are losing money every time someone flushes a toilet. Sterling dropped the phone. He looked at the dashboard again. The occupancy graph was a flat line at 100%. The revenue graph was a flat line near zero. He realized then what had happened. He had removed the floor. He had told the machine to follow the market. And the machine had followed the market all the way to hell. My phone rang at 8:15 a.m. I was awake. I had seen the news on Twitter an hour ago. Hashtag Vista glitch was trending worldwide. I saw Sterling's name on the caller ID. I let it ring 3 times. Then I picked up. Hello, Sterling. Elena. His voice was unrecognizable. It sounded thin, brittle, like dry leaves stepping on gravel. Elena, you need to help me. I don't work for Vista anymore, Sterling. Remember? You restructured me. I know. Listen, the system. It crashed. No, it didn't crash. It went crazy. It dropped everything to $14. We're fully booked. The legal team says we can't cancel the reservations without facing a class action lawsuit and losing our merchant license with Visa. That sounds like a difficult situation, I said, walking to my kitchen to pour a cup of coffee. You need to fix it, he begged. Stop the algorithm. Roll back the bookings. Reset the pricing tables. I can't, Sterling. I don't have access. You revoked my credentials. You wiped my laptop. I'll give you access. He shrieked. I'll give you root access right now. Just tell me what to do. Tell me the command to run the What was it? The sanity check? I paused, holding the warm mug in my hands. The sanity check? I asked softly. Yes. The script. The one you said filtered the noise. Run that. I can't run it, Sterling, I said. It was a local script. It lived on my desktop. But your IT team wiped the machine, remember? Security protocol. Redundant overhead. There was a silence on the other end of the line. A long, suffocating silence. You didn't back it up? He whispered. Why would I? I asked. You told me the software was perfect. You told me it was a toaster. You don't need safety scripts for a toaster. Elena, please, he sobbed. He was actually crying now. I'll hire you back. Double salary. Triple salary. Just make it stop. Sterling, I said, my voice calm and steady. You removed the floor. You wanted the market to decide. The market decided your hotel is worth $14. I took a sip of coffee. And honestly, for a company run by an unsupervised algorithm and a man who wears cufflinks to Zoom calls, I think $14 is a very fair valuation. Elena. Goodbye, Sterling. I hung up. The fallout was spectacular. Vista Hospitality could not cancel the bookings. The terms of service on their own website, combined with the consumer protection laws in the EU and US, bound them to the confirmed rates. If they tried to cancel 40,000 reservations, they would have faced fines in the hundreds of millions and been delisted by every major credit card processor. They had to eat the loss. For the entire holiday season, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, New Year's, the luxury hotels of Vista Hospitality were filled with backpackers, college students, and thrifty families who couldn't believe their luck. It was a carnival. People were drinking $400 champagne that they bought for $14. They were ordering room service that cost more than their room rate. They used all the towels. They raided the mini bars. The operating cost for a room night, cleaning, electricity, staff, insurance, was approximately $85. They were selling them for $14. They lost $71 every single night on every single room. The total direct revenue loss was estimated at $35 million. The brand damage was incalculable. The luxury image was shattered. You can't be exclusive when you are cheaper than a Motel 6. Sterling was fired before lunch on that Friday. The board of directors didn't just fire him, they sued him for gross negligence. His career in the C-suite was over. As for me? I read about the final tally in the Financial Times a few weeks later. I was sitting on a beach in Bali. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold. I had found a great deal on a villa. It wasn't a glitch. It wasn't a mistake fair. It was a fair price for a beautiful place. I paid full price. I closed the newspaper and looked out at the ocean. I thought about Chimera. I wondered if they had shut it down, or if they had just hired a team of 20 humans to do the job I used to do alone. It didn't matter. I took a sip of my drink. It tasted like freedom. And it tasted like sanity.